They cannot have fucked this Caitlin Clark thing up any worse if they tried.
Charles Barkley didn't just speak his mind. He unloaded like a man who's had enough. The moment the WNBA announced an investigation into Indiana Fever fans for racially charged behavior during a game against the Chicago Sky, Barkley fired back on national TV. He didn't wait for spin. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He simply said what thousands of fans were already thinking. They couldn't have messed this up more if they tried. And at the center of this mess, Angel Reese, whose complaints sparked a full-blown scandal, one that fell apart just days later. The league reviewed hours of footage. They interviewed fans and staff. And guess what they found? Nothing. No slurs, no misconduct, no evidence. Yet somehow the accusations still dominated the headlines, overshadowing a monster performance by Caitlin Clark, who dropped a triple-double and led the Fever to a 93-58 blowout win. Instead of celebrating a breakout performance, we're talking about lies, Barkley scoffed.
Petty jealousy, and it's really unfortunate because what she's done for the game, listen, I believe in rookie hazing, but some of the criticism has gotten overboard, and I think it's really unfair.
And he didn't stop there. He went after the league for chasing ghosts instead of growing the game. He said the whole situation reeked of jealousy, and he wasn't subtle about who he thought was behind it. Some of these girls need to grow up, he snapped. Caitlin Clark's making everyone money, and you're out here complaining?
If you got people in a room, if you got a bunch of dudes in a room and says, let's fuck up the WNBA, we couldn't have came up a master plan what these women have done.
But here's where things really got wild. Barkley compared it to a bad boardroom idea. If you put 10 guys in a room and asked, how can we screw up Caitlin Clark's debut? He said, they still wouldn't come up with something this dumb. The truth is, Barkley continued, Caitlin Clark is the biggest thing to ever happen to this league, and y'all are making her the enemy? That's not just bad strategy, that's self-sabotage.
You women out there, y'all petty, man. Hey, LeBron, you 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty, girls. I expect men to be petty because we're the most insecure group in the world.
Oh, you are.
Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all ass private charters, all the money and visibility she bringing to the WNBA. Don't be petty like dudes. Listen, what she's accomplished, give her flowers. Stop being petty, all you women out there. She got y'all ass charters. She bringing all y'all this money to the table, but y'all being petty like dudes. LeBron, you 100% right. Y'all girls, stop being petty. Caitlin Clark, thank you for bringing all that money and shine to the WNBA.
And when the league puts out a weak statement saying, no evidence found, without apologizing to the fans they accused, that's cowardly.
The WNBA is committed to fostering a safe and inclusive environment for everyone and will continue to be vigilant in enforcing our fan code of conduct. Where is the apology to your fans? I have a suspicion that outside of Indiana Fever games, there may be a boycott of every other game in your league.
Let's not get it twisted. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a warning shot to the one player actually changing the game. Charles Barkley didn't flinch. He knew exactly what was going on. The investigation wasn't about protecting anyone. It was about punishing Caitlin Clark for stealing the spotlight, and Barkley wasn't about to let that slide. Jealousy, he said, is killing this league. Now think about that. You've got a rookie, barely a month into her WNBA career, setting TV records, filling arenas, and selling out merch like she's LeBron James in 2003. And instead of rallying behind her, some players are acting like she's the villain. Let me tell you something, Barkley added. Steph Curry didn't get this kind of hate when he turned the NBA into a three-point shootout. He got paid, and so did everybody else. But in the WNBA, Clark dominates the headlines, and suddenly players are calling for investigations, talking about respect and throwing shade during press conferences. Respect? Barkley barked. How about respecting the fact she's the reason y'all are finally getting charter flights? That arena wasn't full because of Angel Reese. It was full because of Caitlin Clark, he said.
I think it's an awful look for the league. They got a chance to take over sports for this period right now. There's no football going on. There's only 1 week of the NBA to go. Problem you got, we're not talking about basketball. We're talking about stupidity. And it's really unfortunate.
But the number of attention, eyeballs she's brought to college and the pros, and for these women to have this petty jealousness, you say to yourself, damn, what is going on here?
And Barkley didn't even need speculation to prove it. The numbers spoke for themselves. WNBA ticket sales are up 93%, TV ratings exploded by 180%. Draft night viewership jumped 400%, and Caitlin Clark is the only new variable.
Before the 2023 season, the WNBA had grown by 40% viewership from 2022 to 2023. But with Caitlin Clark's arrival, it's grown by 400% viewership. What that means is if the WNBA were continue to grow at the rate it grew from 22 to 23, it would take until 2028 to do what Caitlin Clark did this year. Okay, now let's not talk viewership, let's talk ticket sales. Bear with me. Ticket sales grew in 2023 by 16% from 2022. Ticket sales have grown by 93% in 2024. What that means is without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA would have taken till 2029 or 2030 to get to where Caitlin Clark has gotten them today.
She's not moving the needle, Barkley said. She is the needle. Y'all wanted visibility, now you got it. And suddenly, you can't handle it. The sarcasm in his voice was impossible to miss. It's like they finally got what they asked for. And now they want to throw it away. Because if this is how the league treats its breakout star, what does that say to sponsors? What does that say to fans? You think Nike and Gatorade want to invest in petty drama? Barkley asked. They want superstars. They want ratings. They want Caitlin Clark. And the best part? Clark hasn't even responded to any of it. She's let her game do the talking, dropping dimes, knocking down threes, and carrying a team that went 1-19 without her last year. She's out there turning the Fever into playoff contenders, Barkley said, while y'all turning Twitter into a circus.
What she did in college for women's basketball, what she's doing in the WNBA.
She turned the Fever, we're 1-8. They have a winning record now.
You look at the ratings for the draft for the WNBA, she's making everybody money. And I think she's got some deals. Good for her. I mean, the girl just set the record for the most points ever scored in college, but the visibility and stuff she's bringing to the league is going to fill all our wallets up in the long run.
Now here's where the whole thing collapses, because the so-called investigation turned out to be nothing more than smoke and mirrors. After all the noise, all the outrage, and all the finger-pointing, the WNBA finally released the results of its investigation. And guess what they found? Absolutely nothing. They interviewed fans. They combed through footage. They even questioned arena staff, and still, no racial slurs, no verbal abuse, no misconduct, just a completely clean game, outside of Angel Reese's bruised ego. This wasn't just a swing and a miss, Barkley said. This was a wild pitch into the parking lot. But here's what made it worse. The WNBA didn't apologize, not to the fans who got smeared, not to the Fever, not to the people who were publicly labeled as racists based on zero proof.
As a organization stood up to the WNBA and said, you know what? We don't buy that this happened. We need to handle this a different way. Even if you were going to do a quiet investigation on it. And I can't wait to see the amount of, if any of these players, and we know some did, played into this, let's make sure they're suspended and fined.
And that silence hit fans hard, especially in Indiana. Some started calling for boycotts of other WNBA games, not because they stopped loving the game, but because the league stopped defending them. You threw your own fan base under the bus, Barkley said. It's like the league forgot who keeps the lights on, he added. It ain't just TV deals, it's people in seats. And now, you've made them the enemy. That's when the comparisons started flying. Would NBA Commissioner Adam Silver have launched an investigation against Golden State Warriors fans just because an opposing player claimed something vague without evidence? Not a chance. You can't run a pro sports league like you're chasing gossip, Barkley said. This ain't high school, it's business. And what's the cost of all this drama? Instead of talking about the Fever's dominant win or Clark's historic night, everyone was dragged into a story that didn't even exist. You wasted a national spotlight moment on nonsense, Barkley said. Congratulations. You had one job, promote your league. You turned it into TMZ.
What's bad, instead of talking about all the good things happening for the WNBA, we're talking about negativity. And all publicity, that used to be that old saying, all publicity is good publicity. No, it's not. Not when you're a niche sport trying to get the consumers to buy into your product. So it's really unfortunate, and and I like the way she's handling. She hasn't said anything, because you got so many fools out here who got opinions, unfortunately, negative opinions on television, on radio, and things like that. So I'm glad she's staying above the fray.
And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, the league's leadership managed to dig an even deeper hole. Charles Barkley wasn't just ranting to hear himself talk. He was calling out a pattern of insecurity, a pattern of sabotage, a pattern of the WNBA tripping over its own feet every time it gets momentum. You've got a star like Caitlin Clark doing everything right, he said. She's pulling in money, fans, sponsors, and somehow the league sees that as a problem? Let that sink in. Clark drops a triple-double. Her team smashes their opponent. Fans are showing up in record numbers, and the story dominating headlines is about a lie. And worse, nobody's being held accountable.
Let's see this thread from a fan that was actually in the game. As a person who attended the Fever game today and had multiple black friends in a bunch of areas of the arena, y'all are legit making stuff up to make Indy seem like this racist, scary, unsafe place for black players. Again, these people have never traveled a day in their life. They sit in their fucking basement, they sit home, they go down the street, what up, what up, what up, what up, and that's it. That's all they know.
The investigation? Swept under the rug? The damage to Indiana fans? Ignored. The players stirring up the drama? Untouched. But fans did notice, and so did sponsors. You think ESPN wants to keep broadcasting games if the storyline isn't basketball, but baseless drama? He asked. They're not paying for soap operas. And you know who else noticed? The NBA. Barkley made it crystal clear. The WNBA has a once-in-a-generation opportunity, and they're fumbling it. When Steph Curry changed the NBA, everybody got paid, Barkley said. Not just him. The whole league rose with him. Now Caitlin Clark's doing the same thing for the WNBA, and y'all treating her like a problem instead of a payday. The sarcasm came flooding back. Oh, I'm sorry, Barkley joked. Did y'all not want higher salaries, bigger endorsements, and full arenas? You'd rather protect feelings than build the future? That's the real issue. It's not just about Caitlin Clark. It's about a league finally getting the attention it's been begging for and throwing it away over petty grudges. She's lifting the league, Barkley said, and some of y'all are just dead weight.